to another quick modelling challenge, and that is our king. So I'd like you to go ahead and create the king. I suggest in this case using the queen as a starting point, because we're almost there with it. We just need to change, perhaps put a cross on the, I want to say hat, it's a crown, isn't it, on the king itself, and maybe not so spiky, so you might want to remove the spikes. It's entirely up to you how you make this king itself. So to make the king the right size by our specifications, a base size of 4 to 4.5, so we're going to be scaling the entire model, by 1.125. Now you may have to reposition the model on the XY plane should you do this scale, because it's likely to scale beneath it. And finally, and alluding to the points made earlier, make the king your own and have fun whilst you're doing it. The suggestion I'm going to put forward in a few moments is just my way of doing things, and you will have your own. There's no right or wrong. Try and keep it in style with the rest of your pieces as well. Remember, we've got an entire board of pieces here, and it's great if they kind of match up and look like they're part of one set. Pause the video now and give that a go. Okay guys, welcome back. Let's go and create our king over in Blender. So we're back over in Blender with our queen. I've opened up the low poly queen. So to make sure that I don't actually muck around with this model, I'm going to go straight away and go File, Save As, and change the low poly queen to low poly king. And of course, making sure we change the name in the outliner as well, so our mesh has the right name. Brilliant. Okay, so now let's have a look at some reference material. So let's zoom around to one of the angles, and obviously we've got the queen on show here. Let's go and change the reference image to a king. Excellent. So we can see that the king is naturally bigger anyway, and it's got a slightly different sort of crown on top. So I want to keep the base relatively the same. In fact, we could just stretch the entire model up to be the right height. So let's go round to the, let's do the scaling right now. Let's just scale the entire model itself. So first of all, the origin's on the base, that's great. So if we select our entire model in object mode and scale it by 1.125, let's do that straight away, and it's still on the base. Brilliant. Let's hop back over into the front view and see how that lines up. Oh, that's almost perfect. So we can do a tiny bit of adjustment. I'm going to leave the base how it is, because I really do want it to be a chunkier object than the rest, since it is the most important one on the board. Over in edit mode, however, I'm going to make this crown certainly more in line with our model. So it's got a bigger top to it. So I'm going to grab these three edge, well, I'm going to grab most of those bits of edge loops and just bring them down to there. Okay, so now we've got that basis there. We've got the top of our king. Well, we've got a couple of options here as to what we do. We can go through and turn on limit selection, or turn it off, limit selection to invisible. We've got a couple of options here as to how we go about either removing the geometry that's here, or in fact working with what's here. So taking that into account, what I'm going to do is I think it's actually going to be easier deleting everything and starting the top bit afresh. So I'm going to go onto border select and highlight the bits that I want to remove. And in fact, because I've broken edge loops around here with the n-gons, I'm going to select a bit further than that. I'm going to come right down to here and delete. Oh, we've still got some other stuff selected. Good job, I spotted that. So let's try that third time lucky, and we're going to delete the vertices so these vertical edges also go. So we've got a great starting point here. We're going to go from here, and it's going to branch up on the z-axis to about there, and then it's going to come back in to our little squashed ball on top. Brilliant. So now we've got that, we can scale this edge loop out to make the top of our king. Brilliant. And this one's going to be scaled in quite a lot, so let's just scale that one all the way in, almost to nothing, but we'll sort that out when we place this little ball on top. So let's place the 3D cursor roughly around where we want it, which is there, and then change its position so X and Y both equal 0. Perfect. So now we're going to add a UV sphere of the same number of segments as before. So we're going to add a mesh, a UV sphere. It does actually need to be a separate object, so we'll go ahead and make it a separate object in a moment. So we're going to have 8 segments and 4 of those. Brilliant. So what we need to do here, just to make sure that it matches up, is separate it by selection whilst it's still selected, and I'm not going to bother renaming it because we can simply, we're going to merge it back in a few moments anyway. So let's scale that in so it's approximately the right size. So it's because we built it as a new mesh object within our current object, it's added it, and the origin for it way down at the bottom of the screen, which is no good. However, we don't need to redo the origin in this case. What we can do is change the pivot points. So next to the viewport shading, we've got a box here, so we can actually change the pivot point to the 3D cursor, which is brilliant in our case because that saves us a load of faffing about moving something that's only temporary. So I'm going to scale that in so it's approximately the right size. I'm then going to scale it again, but this time only on the Z-axis, so I'll be squishing it a bit flatter. There we go. So that's got the shape, and I'm again going to scale it, but this time excluding to just make that a bit wider for the base of our king itself. And now I'm just going to combine the two together with a Boolean operation, and I'm going to make it a union and with the king itself. There we go, that's done once we've clicked apply. Now one of these we want and one of them we don't want, so we don't want the low poly king 001, which is the one we've just created, and now we've got the rest of our model on top here. And we've got a cross on top of our king here. Now I'm going to make my cross a little more rudimentary than the one we've got here, just to save me a bit of time, and also I don't want it too complex, because if I make it too complex it won't be in keeping with the rest of our model. So I'm going to hop back over into edit mode and select these faces running around. Let's turn visible off again. Select these faces running around here. I'm literally just going to pull that up to give us something to work with. Excellent. Let's zoom out and check that for proportions. Let's zoom back round to the front. I don't know why I'm saying zoom. Perhaps I mean whiz. Okay, so we've got that now, and I'm going to make a slightly different type of cross, I think, on mine. I'm going to use that as the ins and outs bit. We need a pivot point in the middle, and we can do that with a loop cut. So if we decide where the loop cuts are going, in fact I'm going to make this vertical to begin with. So let's put a loop cut in and pull it down to about here, and then scale that back in itself, so we've still got this sort of dome shape. Now I want this and this one here to kind of just make a straight line for the moment, so I'm going to select that top edge loop and go and scale it. Do it by eye instead, that would be absolutely fine. There we go. So we've got our model here, and it's just a matter of putting a couple of loop cuts in. In fact, I should have put two in at the same time whilst I'm working on it. Do I want 3 or 2 or even 4? Probably 4 to keep the shape that I want. Again, I don't want to be too detailed, but at the same time I don't want to lose too much either. So let's pull this one out slightly to make one bit of the cross. We only want to scale it on the XY axis. So that's that bit there. In fact, we can scale this bottom one and the top one at the same time. That would help us massively if I can get the right edge loops selected. In fact, if I hold down the right button, it helps as well. Okay, so we're going to scale that on with not on the Z axis. Pull those out there. I'm going to add another loop cut just at the top if I can, if it's going to let me. Sometimes it can be a bit fiddly to try and get the right place. So let's undo those bits there. I'm happy with this bit sticking out here. So we just want the cross coming out basically from this center point, or these center points here. So let's select this face here and these faces here. They are opposite one another. Yes, they are. And let's just grab them and pull them about. Well, we need to change the pivot points, not around there, but these individual origins. Then I'll be able to pull that area out, which is perfect. I don't want to do it too far. Excellent. Now, this, we're going to have to add another edge loop in around here and scale that out. So probably another edge loop at the top. Lift it up a little and scale that out. So kind of like that. And then finally, these edges here and here. No, I do want to just do the top ones separately from the bottom ones. So let's grab those, and I'm going to move them by eye and take a note of the number. So that looks roughly right, and that's about minus 0.8. Oh, no it's not. 0.08 perhaps. There we go. And this one will be plus. So let's go around our model. So there's a lot of experimentation to be done when you're making a model, especially when you're not quite sure how you want it to look. And let's move that in the z-axis again by this time 0.08 again. Okay, so I quite like that actually. It's been accidental. I didn't mean to make these two things at the top, but it's turned out okay at the end. Let's have a look at it in rendered mode. And the other question I have is, do I want this cross on the top any bigger? In this case, no, I'm quite happy with that. I'd love to see what you guys came up with your king. So please share in the discussions. I'm going to make sure I save this now. Please share in the discussions, and I will see you in the next lecture.